All right, guys, what's going on? We're back here with Sidequest League playoffs. This is the winner side of the bracket. This is between Marcus, who was able to beat Baker about a week ago, and Dan, who beat Kane about a week ago. The winner here will move on to kind of the finals of the tournament. It's a double elimination tournament, so it may or may not be the finals. And the loser will go to the loser side of the bracket. Between right now, we have myself going up against Baker, and the winner of that would play the loser of this matchup. Um, so right now, I have a copy of Dan's perspective. This is his intro here, where it goes into all his mons, but we're gonna fast forward through that. We're gonna let you guys check out Dan's perspective if you want to. This is gonna be our first look at their matchup, and we're gonna commentate as if it was live. So, Kane, you want to talk about their mons at preview here?
Yeah. Both Marcus and Dan have really good teams. If we look at Marcus's team first, real quick, we've got the Ndidi, Conkeldurr, Hatterene, Dusclops, Bolton, and Flygon. Marcus has been running a lot of hard trick room stuff, which is obvious when you have a mon like Dusclops and a mon like Hatterene that can use that. Classic redirection with the Ndidi, and then Conkeldurr, which can definitely take advantage of the trick room. But having mons like Bolton and Flygon mean that you can operate pretty well outside of the trick room, depending on which four you end up bringing to the matchup. Marcus has been playing very well this season. I think he only had a couple losses, and he had a really convincing win against Baker last week. And if we look at Dan's team here, we have the Milotic, Alcremie, Hydreigon, the Mimikyu, Lucario, and Snorlax. The Mimikyu is actually a recent addition to the team. Most of his team is recent.
Yeah, man. I
He
think only the Lucario and the Alcremie are his old Pokemon, but everything else is new.
Yeah, so he had a major rebuild a couple weeks ago before the trade deadline, and he was able to acquire pieces like the Hydreigon and the Milotic. Milotic is obviously really powerful in the VGC format, having access to coil, things like Muddy Water, whether it's running the weakness policy, life orb sets. It's got a lot of options to use. And then Mimikyu is interesting in this matchup too because it can try to operate with the trick room that Marcus might be wanting to get up. But in the past, I know Dan has run room service, and he's opting for a life orb this. So we do have a redirection on both sides also, as I mentioned with the and then Lucario also has a follow me access too. So we've got some pretty interesting matchups here. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out here in game one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think they both have some really good options. I think Dan will want to, as we see here, he's going to lead off with the Milotic and Lucario. I think Lucario is the best mon to always lead with because it's got that option to always follow me and then have a setup, sweeper setup, turn one, and then opt to go for big damage after that. So let's go ahead and start the matchup. I think this will be a really good set between the two. So yeah, it'll be.
Yeah, we'll see what Marcus brings. Again, like I said, I mean he does have hard trick room, but he can also operate outside of it. So it'll be a matter of what four he brings to the field. That's going to be real obvious whether he's going to go for it or not.
Right.
Bella and Skylar. So we do have the Indeedee and Hatterene. So we'll see what he opts to go for with this team, and then we have the Lucario, Milotic on Dan's side.
Yeah, I think Marcus is starting off pretty basic, pretty generic. If it ain't fixed, don't, or if it ain't broken, don't fix it. So I think this is a good start.
Yeah, right.
The same with Dan. He's got his Lucario here who can just, follow me and coil with the Milotic. So let's see what happens. All right, so we do get a follow me from the Ndidi, and Lucario. Oh, actually goes for an attack here. So I think Dan, gonna keep Marcus on his toes with that, because most of us expect that follow me from the Lucario, but here he opts to just straight up go for an attack.
So that's a really big turn one, because we don't have to waste the follow bees on each other. Getting that attack boost there from the Meteor match is huge. Now we've got the Hatterene setting up the Trick Room, so Hatterene is going to be the slowest mon on the field by far, so it's definitely going to be attacking first. But now the Ndidi is really weakened, so the Ndidi can probably only take one more hit before going down, especially after that Meteor match attack boost from Lucario.
Yeah, I think that was really smart of Dan to go for damage. You want to get rid of that follow me option on the opposite side of the field while still keeping your own. All right, so we do see a Dynamax now. I'm pretty sure it'll be the Milotic here now that it's gotten one coil off. One really dangerous thing about Milotic here is that you have to be careful about what Dynamax moves your opponent as your opponent is clicking, because any of those Dynamax moves that lower the opposing side will give that Milotic a competitive boost.
Right, I actually made that mistake using a max Flutter Bee with my Durant and accidentally giving him the special attack boost instead of the special attack drop. And we do see here a max Geyser coming out. That's going to be enough to take down the Ndidi, and we've got Reina.
Yeah, I don't know if Dan EV'd his Mons on purpose for this. He's got the Milotic going technically slower / faster, faster now in Trick Room. So Milotic was able to take care of that Ndidi in case it did go for a follow me, and then the Lucario was able to get its Meteor Mash super effective move off the Hatterene.
Yeah, so the Hatterene was able to set up the Trick Room and got off one Dazzling Gleam, but really wasn't able to really take advantage of the Trick Room that's set up now. Now we've got Dusclops and the Conkeldurr on the other side of the field, which are, slow mons too that can try to take advantage of this Trick Room, but, it's a lot of the weight is now on the Conkeldurr, basically, with Dusclops playing more of a support role.
Right. Oh, and we do see a Haze here, so it was good for Marcus to see that Milotic has the weakness policy. Conkeldurr is going to be able to take care of that Lucario. It's got 2 boosts there, so that's good that he's got that Dusclops for the haste, but at the same time I think that Dusclops was better in the front to get up the Trick Room rather than in the back, because now that he's got the Trick Room up, what else does Dusclops do for him?
Yeah, Conkeldurr falls after that one max Geyser, so there's really not much else to do here. Conkeldurr might have been better if it was maybe running like an AV set or something, but if it was just like a regular Flame Orb set for the Guts boost, there's no way that the Conkeldurr was going to be able to survive. And now we have kind of a pressing of the emergency button, trying to Dynamax Dusclops and see what we can do. Trying to get some max Phantasms, I guess. It'll hit a little bit harder, or a lot harder than the Nightshade. But okay, and we see a guard.
We see a
There's
guard
really not
here.
much else that Dusclops can do.
Yeah, I think Marcus here is just kind of wanting to wait and see what happens. Maybe gets a little bit more information. Here we see the Phantom Force from the Mimikyu. So that's good to know. You can't just freely target into Mimikyu, because at the wrong turn you'll just miss and waste the turn.
Right, and that's huge right now, because now you only have one mon on the other side of the field. So if you're trying to attack the Mimikyu and you click it on the wrong turn, you totally wasted your turn and you're just taking damage.
Exactly. Another thing too that I forget about Phantom Force is that it goes through Protect, so you can't just blindly click Protect either. You have to keep that in mind as you're playing against this Mimikyu. And
so it'll be interesting here, to see if what other information Marcus might be able to get. But This man Phantasm's not going to be able to do too much. Yeah,
No.
it's just not an offensive mon. It's not going to be able to pressure the opponents, and it's actually going to give the competitive boost to the Milotic. So,
Right. I'm not
there's
sure
really
if
not much.
Marcus remembered that or not, or maybe he's just, like I said, just kind of seeing what comes out of his dance two mods here. Um, yeah, and now we're outside of Trick Room, so I think this is a forfeit here, easy forfeit for Marcus. Not much you can do. Um, now, I think Marcus is gonna have to definitely uh, prioritize taking care of that Milotic in the next game. Um, so yeah, good match number one. I know both of these guys prepped hard, and that game one is always about getting a lot of information, as much information as you can. So let's see how they prepare for game two.
Yeah, so it was interesting here seeing like in the first turn how important it was for Marcus to get that trick room up, but he really wasn't able to take advantage of it. With the Hatterene going down to that Meteor Mash and the Lucario just kind of doing work to both the Indeedee and the Hatterene. There was really
Right.
not much else that Marcus could
Usually when
do.
you're in Trick Room and you're the one that set it up, it feels like forever, right? Like it drags on. You're like, oh my god, when's Trick Room going to be up? But in that game, Marcus set up the Trick Room, but it was Dan who had all the control, and that Trick Room went by really quickly. Like I've never seen a Trick Room go by so fast. But yeah, I think Dan prepped for that Trick Room, so it's obvious, that Marcus will want to get the Trick Room up with that Hatterene and Dusclops and Conkeldurr, but we'll see if Marcus wants to go for Trick Room again this game
Yeah, I mean,
too.
like I said, he has options to, whether he wants to run in the trick room or run outside the trick room. So we'll see what kind of adjustments are made on both sides of the field.
All right, and it looks like we do get a change up from Marcus. We get Bolton and Flygon here, so that's this out of Trick Room set. We get a change up from Dan. We actually have the Hydreigon here. That's a really smart change because, when you just showed Marcus what you can do inside a Trick Room, you expect him to want to change it up. So this Hydreigon's going to pressure that Flygon, and that Bolton is definitely going to pressure that Milotic. But I don't know if Dan really needs it. He might have some mons in the back that can take care of the rest of the game without the Milotic. I think sometimes that's when I played him, that's what I did, is I focused so much on the Milotic, forgot about the other mons too. So let's see what this turn one turns out.
No, well, I mean, so we've seen from Dan's perspective that we know that Hydreigon is scarfed. So
Right.
if he wants, he can just kind of shoot off a Draco, drop a Draco there on the Flygon maybe. The other thing to keep in mind too is that Bolton does have access to Play Rough, so if he wants, he can go Play Rough into the Hydreigon and do the 4 times effective move.
That's
But we are
right.
going to see a Dynamax here. Let's see, and it is the Flygon. So Flygon using that, in the past we have seen it run a Dragon Dance set and then Dynamax, but obviously with the offensive pressure that Dan's putting on the field, you really don't have the ability to get a Dragon Dance up first.
Right, you don't want to set up in his face, and then Dan just punishes you for that. So we get an immediate Dynamax from the Milotic too. So this is definitely different from game one, where that Milotic set up first and then Dynamaxed. Without the Lucario with a Follow Me redirection, I think the Milotic did have to kind of Dynamax just to lift something. All right, so we do get
And we
that
do see
Draco
the
Meteor.
guard.
Yeah, and the guard.
Yeah, we do get the guard because without that redirection, there's really not much else to do. And we see a Howl come out, so that's going to increase the attack of both Mons on the field. But I'm not sure what else that Bolton is going to. Yeah, that Bolton's not going to be able to take that hit. So the Bolton basically just gets an attack boost up for the Flygon, and then isn't able to do anything else.
Right. I don't know what the EV spreads are there, or what the calcs are, but I'm actually surprised that Milotic was able to take on that Bolton so easily. All right, so we do see the Ndidi here, so that'll be good. Kind of, keep that Flygon safe from any ice beams or Dracos coming its way.
Yeah, but at the same time, that means my Loda can just kind of spam the max geysers here. Um, you're already in the rain. The Indeedy's not going to be able to take much more of it. So really, if you're Marcus, you got to make sure that you're trying to take advantage of Flygon as much as you can while it's Dynamax.
All right, and we do see that Mimikyu coming in there for the Hydreigon. I was expecting another Draco. Oh wow, but we actually
Holy cow.
Max Knuckle going into that slot. So I don't know if Dan called that, if you read that. That was a good ass read. I mean that that keeps
That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have definitely. I guess he anticipated the follow me and didn't and knew he was locked in Draco Meteor. But still, that's a huge momentum shift. You basically just destroyed one of Flygon's turns in Dynamax, and didn't give it a boost, didn't give it any damage, nothing.
Nothing. And that Mimikyu got to come in for free.
Yep.
Alright, so we do see a Max Quaking Helping Hand. So let's see how much that does. Alright, so that did a little over half. So that my Lodic is still standing there. But it's got a little Spadef boost, so let's see how much this Geyser will do. Alright, so we do see that Dan wanted to get rid of that Indeedee. Getting rid of that follow me option is good. Oh, and we do see that Mimikyu going for the Trick Room. So this time
setting up Trick Room himself. Wow.
This time it's Dan who wants to take advantage of Trick Room.
Oh, but we have Hatterene coming back out. So now Hatterene is the fastest mon on the field after Dan set up Trick Room for it.
Right. But with the Mimikyu there and the Milotic there, not sure if that's really an advantage or not. Especially with both Dynamaxes gone now. I think the Hatterene probably would have been better to Dynamax. It's always so hard to play, you don't want to be, I don't know, at a disadvantage, when the other opponent has his Dynamax up. So let's see what these guys go for now.
So the Flygon is still at full health. The Flygon's been on the field the whole time, and it does have that attack boost from the Howl. And we will see. Okay, we get the disguise busted, but that's still not enough to get rid of my Milotic. So my Milotic is still going to be able to get a free Ice Beam here on the Flygon, and that's going to hurt.
Oh wow, but the Flygon survives. I'm actually surprised about that, but I guess that's Spadef boost that helped it. If you're Marcus here, you really wish you would have took out that Milotic there. That Phantom Force is really annoying. In just the right time, I was able to avoid that hit.
Yeah, and again, right now all the pressure is on Marcus. There's really not much else he can do. Flygon is not going to be able to take another hit, and we'll see how much damage that Phantom Force does to see where it's going. So it's a Life Orb.
Wow, and that takes care of the Hatterene there. Yeah, Marcus is down to his last mon here. Oh, we see a miss.
Brutal miss. That hitting definitely would have helped him, but even with that, you're still going against the Hydreigon in the back too, and the Hydreigon can just shoot off the Draco. If it can get through the Trick Room turns, because I believe Trick Room's still up.
Right, but luckily Dan brought the Snorlax here, so it's gonna go first in the Trick Room now. And yeah, that's game. Kind of unexpected. We were hyping up these two guys. They were able to clean up their opposition last week pretty easily, and this time it's Dan who's able to convincingly win this matchup. Um, what are your thoughts, Kane?
I mean, Marcus played exceptionally well all season. I think he only had maybe 2 or 3 losses. And he was the top seeded team going into the playoffs for a reason. Um, Definitely a huge statement win for Dan, especially with the 2-0 win. He's definitely going to be the team to beat now that he's the only remaining uh, player in the winners column going forward. So it'll be interesting to see who he ends up facing as the playoffs continue, and we'll see if maybe these two meet up again.
Right, and that's one thing about Marcus's team. It's been kind of the same the whole season. So I think we've all started to kind of figure out what it wants to do in and outside of Trick Room, what its options are. There's only so much you can do, and with enough prep, you can definitely um, build a team to counter it, right? Just like Dan did here. He had an excellent lead, if he brought the Trick Room and then, that counterplay in game two. So, Dan was the one that was making all the moves there at the trade deadline. I thought he was crazy when he got rid of Dragapult and Lapras and Raichu, but that used to be his core. But now with this new core, it's kind of like an anti-meta core. You don't really see too many of those mons in the ladder versus Marcus, who has the Conkeldurr, the Dusclops, the Hatterene, the Indeedee. Those are very, very common mons on the meta. So looking at the team preview, you would think Marcus would be able to at least give Dan some trouble, but it's actually Dan with the more anti-meta game here that able to convincingly win. So yeah, we have Dan moving on into the potential finals, and we have Marcus, who will get to play the winner between me and Baker. We'll play it tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be a good game, and then if Marcus gets another shot at Dan, I think he'll be better prepared to take Dan on, and hopefully we see a really good series here the rest of the tournament, the playoffs. But until next time, guys, I think we'll sign out.
Alrighty, see you guys.